Have you ever noticed that your favorite comfort meals are the ones putting you at the highest risk for stroke? Picture this: a peaceful evening at home. You're settling in with a plate of creamy mac and cheese, perhaps accompanied by warm garlic bread, or maybe you're indulging in a slice of melty pizza while sipping an ice-cold soda. Sound like something you've done? Here's what concerns me: these beloved food pairings might be quietly working against your cardiovascular health without you even knowing it. Statistics show that nearly 800,000 Americans experience stroke annually. For those of us over 60, the numbers become even more alarming. While we often blame genetics or inherited high blood pressure, emerging research reveals something surprising. The specific foods we choose and how we combine them may play a more significant role in stroke prevention than we previously thought. My goal today is to guide you through information that could genuinely reshape your eating habits and potentially alter your health trajectory. We're examining 6 seemingly harmless food pairings that could be steadily elevating your stroke vulnerability. I'm not trying to frighten you. Rather, I'm approaching this as someone genuinely concerned about what ends up on your plate and what happens to your wellness journey. You'll recognize many of these combinations from your own past. That's precisely what makes this concerning. But here's the encouraging part: better alternatives exist. We're talking about simple adjustments to your current eating patterns, not complete dietary overhauls. I'd love to know your reaction. If this information resonates with you and you're thinking about making changes, leave a 1 in the comments. If you're skeptical or need more convincing, that's perfectly acceptable. Just leave a 0. And please, subscribe to SeniorForge 365, where we discuss the topics that genuinely matter for your well-being in an honest, caring way. Let's start with the first problematic pairing: mac and cheese alongside garlic bread. This meal carries a nostalgic warmth. It reminds many of us of simpler times and quiet nights spent enjoying something we genuinely love. The appeal is obvious: the richness of the cheese, the satisfying texture, how easy it is to prepare, and that deep comfort it provides. Yet underneath that appealing taste lies something troubling. When consumed regularly, this particular combination creates genuine cardiovascular risk. Traditional mac and cheese relies on refined pasta stripped of its protective nutrients, combined with full-fat dairy products and generous amounts of butter. This means your body receives concentrated amounts of unhealthy saturated fats, excessive sodium, and fast-digesting carbohydrates that spike blood sugar rapidly. The garlic bread compounds the problem. Most versions use white bread, which lacks fiber, spread generously with butter or margarine and sprinkled with added salts. Together, these two components create a meal loaded with salt, refined carbohydrate sugars, and arterial-damaging fats. These elements work together to elevate your blood pressure, thicken your circulation, and gradually reduce your arteries' flexibility over time. Research from a 2019 Nutrients Journal study demonstrates that when people consistently eat foods heavy in saturated fat and refined carbohydrates, their blood vessels lose the ability to expand and contract properly, what scientists call endothelial dysfunction. This matters significantly because damaged endothelial function serves as an early warning system for stroke risk. Think about your blood vessels as flexible tubes carrying life-giving fluid. When weakness develops in these tubes from repeated pressure, eventually they fail. Now imagine sitting down after a taxing day, craving comfort. You fill your plate with generous portions of that creamy pasta and grab 2 slices of warm garlic bread. It tastes wonderful and feels completely safe. What you cannot feel happening is your blood pressure climbing higher, your pancreas releasing excess insulin, and your arteries gradually narrowing millimeter by millimeter with each repeated meal. This process happens silently, without any warning signs, remaining invisible until a serious health event forces you to pay attention. Here's the encouraging news: you needn't abandon comfort meals entirely. Simply reimagine them. Begin by switching to whole-grain pasta varieties, which contain valuable fiber that prevents rapid blood sugar fluctuations. Create a lighter cheese sauce using reduced fat cheese, blended with plant-based milk alternatives like unsweetened almond or oat milk. You maintain the creamy texture while removing dangerous fats. Incorporate nutrient-dense vegetables into your dish. Steamed broccoli, fresh spinach, or garden peas all provide essential brain-protecting compounds. For the bread component, select sourdough or whole grain varieties and brush them with heart-healthy olive oil infused with fresh garlic. You preserve the delicious flavors while making genuinely better choices for your cardiovascular system. Comfort should never compromise your well-being. Through thoughtful modifications, you can continue enjoying the meals you love while simultaneously protecting your brain and building stronger long-term health. Consider a typical weekday lunch scenario. You open your kitchen cabinet, pull out a canned soup, and pop a couple slices of bread into the toaster. It presents itself as the ideal, convenient meal, hot, satisfying, and requiring minimal effort to prepare. But pause for a moment. This seemingly innocent combination might be dangerously raising your blood pressure and substantially increasing your stroke risk without triggering any obvious warning signs. The primary culprit is sodium content in canned soups. A single serving frequently contains 800 to 1,000 milligrams of sodium, an enormous amount considering most people don't limit themselves to just one serving. When you add 2 slices of bread, even plain bread contributes approximately 250 milligrams. You're suddenly consuming a dangerous sodium load in one sitting. Your recommended daily sodium intake should remain well below these amounts. The CDC emphasizes that excessive sodium represents a primary cause of elevated blood pressure, which represents one of the strongest predictors of stroke, particularly as we age. Older adults face heightened vulnerability to sodium's harmful effects. Understanding the mechanism helps explain why this combination poses such risk. When your body receives excess sodium, it retains additional water to maintain proper balance. This water retention increases the total volume of fluid your heart must pump throughout your body. Higher volume means higher pressure, placing continuous stress on your vessel walls. Senior citizens, particularly those taking blood pressure medications or managing existing hypertension, face genuine danger from this dietary pattern. Repeated sodium exposure thickens your blood while narrowing your vessels, establishing the foundation for stroke occurrence. Visualize your circulation system as rubber tubing carrying water. If you constantly expose that tubing to excessive pressure, the material weakens, develops cracks, and eventually ruptures. That's precisely what elevated sodium does to the delicate tissues inside your brain's blood vessels. Don't assume you must eliminate soup from your diet. Numerous strategies allow you to enjoy this warming meal safely. Select soups specifically labeled as low sodium or containing no added salt. Better yet, prepare your own homemade versions where you control every ingredient, minimize sodium, and add heart-protective vegetables and aromatic herbs. Replace white bread with whole grain or sprouted varieties. These options contain substantially more fiber and fewer simple carbohydrates, helping you maintain steady blood sugar while simultaneously supporting your vascular system's long-term health. Evening arrives after an exhausting day. Nothing appeals to you quite like a hot slice of cheesy pizza paired with an ice-cold carbonated soda. This combination satisfies multiple cravings simultaneously: the saltiness, sweetness, warmth, and fizzy sensation. However, combining these two foods doesn't simply gratify your taste preferences. You're actually placing considerable stress on your cardiovascular system during hours when it should be resting and recovering. Pizza itself demands attention. The cheese provides substantial saturated fat. The sauce delivers considerable sodium. The crust contributes refined carbohydrates. When you pair this already problematic meal with a sugary beverage containing approximately 39 grams of sugar, you've created a situation where both your glucose levels and blood pressure spike simultaneously. A 2020 British Medical Journal investigation revealed that consuming meals rich in refined carbohydrates and added sugars significantly elevates the risk of major cardiac events, with older individuals, particularly those with existing cardiovascular risk factors, facing the greatest danger. Timing adds another dangerous dimension. Evening consumption produces more severe consequences. Your digestive system naturally slows as evening approaches, and your body prepares for sleep. Consequently, the sugar from your soda enters your bloodstream more forcefully, remains elevated longer, and triggers a more intense insulin response than it would during daytime hours. Simultaneously, the pizza's salt and fat content makes your blood thicker while slowing its movement through your vessels. Your heart must work harder just when it should be winding down for the night. This creates hours of unnecessary cardiovascular strain and substantially raises your stroke risk, particularly if you already have arterial narrowing or elevated blood pressure. Imagine this scenario. You need to park your vehicle at night when everything should proceed calmly and deliberately. Instead, you press the accelerator hard and turn the steering wheel sharply. That's essentially what late-night pizza combined with soda does to your body. It triggers unnecessary stress and shock when your system requires rest. What changes can you make? If pizza represents your comfort food, prepare it yourself using whole wheat crusts, lower-fat cheese options, and abundant fresh vegetables. Avoid processed meat toppings like pepperoni and sausage, which add extra sodium and chemicals that damage your arteries. Replace sugary sodas with sparkling water, enhanced with fresh lemon juice or a touch of natural fruit juice. You maintain that pleasant carbonated sensation without overwhelming sugar quantities. Most importantly, consume heavier meals during earlier hours when your metabolism functions optimally. Providing your heart and brain with nighttime recovery periods significantly reduces your stroke vulnerability and protects your long-term cardiovascular health. The scenario: you're driving home. Your afternoon has been long and demanding. The drive-through aroma proves irresistible. You order a juicy burger alongside a generous portion of crispy French fries. This represents quintessential American eating. Yet, regarding stroke prevention, this conventional combination stands among the riskiest meals you can select. Let's examine why. Commercial burgers, especially those from fast food establishments, typically contain processed meat products loaded with saturated fat and sodium. Add a large fries serving, typically prepared in oils containing trans fats. Despite regulations, numerous food service establishments still employ oils producing trace trans fat quantities. The resulting meal delivers a double assault of compounds that damage your arteries. These substances don't merely increase cholesterol, they actively inflame your blood vessel linings. Why does this inflammation matter significantly? The American Journal of Clinical Nutrition documents that trans fats combined with high dietary sodium both contribute to endothelial dysfunction. Simply put, your blood vessel interiors become irritated, swollen, and less capable of directing blood flow appropriately. Chronic inflammation leads to arterial narrowing, clot formation, and ultimately stroke. These foods additionally increase blood viscosity, making your blood thicker and stickier. Clot formation risk rises dramatically, particularly if you experience dehydration, spend extended periods sitting, or already manage blood pressure challenges. Although a burger and fries might seem like convenient fuel, you're actually assembling the conditions for a serious cardiovascular incident, especially if you're older with pre-existing health vulnerabilities. Good news exists. You can recreate these flavors while protecting your health. Prepare burgers at home using lean ground turkey or plant-based alternatives. Grill rather than deep fry and top with fresh lettuce, tomato, and avocado instead of processed cheese and bacon. Prepare homemade fries using a light coating of olive oil and your preferred seasonings, then bake them. You achieve that satisfying crunch while completely eliminating dangerous fats. Every meal represents an opportunity to prioritize your heart, brain, and future well-being. You find yourself at a social gathering, perhaps a holiday celebration, or a casual meetup with friends. An elegant charcuterie board decorates the table. Thin sliced cured meats, fine cheeses, perhaps some crackers scattered about. It exudes sophistication and provides convenient grazing. However, this seemingly refined combination of processed meats and cheese may be accelerating your arterial hardening at concerning speed. Consider the cured meats first. Products like ham and salami contain substantial sodium and preservatives, particularly sodium nitrite, added for color and preservation. These additives serve practical purposes but carry vascular consequences. Medical research published in the journal Circulation demonstrates that regularly consuming processed meat products substantially increases cardiovascular disease and stroke risk in aging populations. Introduce full-fat cheese into this equation, and you're compounding the problem with additional saturated fat and sodium. The genuine danger emerges when nitrites from the meat combine with saturated fat from the cheese, contributing to arterial stiffness, a condition where your vessels lose their natural flexibility. Reduced arterial flexibility means your brain receives insufficient blood flow, and clot formation becomes more probable. Extended exposure to this food combination impairs overall circulation, leaving your brain increasingly susceptible to ischemic stroke, the kind caused by vessel blockage. Consider your arteries as rubber hoses. During youth and good health, they bend easily. As they stiffen with age and poor nutrition, they become brittle and crack under pressure. This exact scenario develops with regular consumption of this particular combination. Beyond gradual deterioration, this snacking pattern triggers immediate blood pressure elevation from sodium content. For older adults currently managing hypertension, even a single indulgent platter during a vulnerable moment could trigger dangerous blood pressure spikes. How should you approach your next social event? Rather than avoiding the board entirely, make strategic choices. Source: nitrate-free processed meats now readily available in most supermarkets. Select part-skim cheese varieties, or use smaller amounts of intensely flavored sharp cheese to reduce overall consumption while preserving satisfaction. Round out your plate with fresh produce: grapes, cherry tomatoes, cucumbers. These additions neutralize excessive salt and fat while supplying hydration and disease-fighting compounds. Small adjustments and conscious choices allow you to enjoy social occasions while simultaneously protecting your brain function. Many people carry nostalgic feelings about a simple breakfast, a generous bowl of sweet cereal submerged in whole milk. Perhaps it connects you with cherished childhood memories, or maybe it represents your reliable grab-and-go option during rushed mornings. This uncomplicated sugary combination, despite its comforting nature, may be systematically sabotaging your glucose regulation and pushing your stroke risk higher through mechanisms most people never recognize. Most commercial breakfast cereals rely on refined grain flour and contain substantial added sugars, sometimes reaching 12 grams per serving. When you introduce whole milk, which contributes saturated fat plus milk sugars, you've essentially created a formula designed to trigger rapid blood sugar elevation, followed by a crash. This constant blood sugar roller coaster does more than leave you feeling fatigued. It repeatedly overtaxes your insulin regulation system and damages your blood vessel health. Researchers studying stroke risk documented findings that individuals maintaining persistently high insulin levels combined with abnormal cholesterol patterns demonstrated substantially greater vulnerability to blood clots and mini-strokes, transient ischemic attacks, events signaling future major stroke risk. Prolonged exposure to this sugar and fat cycle generates insulin resistance, disrupted cholesterol profiles, and inflammatory responses that prepare your body for stroke. Visualize this. You prepare a heaping bowl, settle at your table, consume that first sweet spoonful. It tastes delightful, comes together quickly, appears completely harmless. Flakes without added sweeteners work beautifully. Substitute whole milk with reduced fat or plant-based alternatives, including almond milk or oat milk, substantially decreasing your saturated fat consumption. Add natural sweetness through fresh berries or a light cinnamon sprinkle rather than relying on processed sugar. This isn't about deprivation. It's about making thoughtful selections that safeguard your brain health and maintain your energy throughout the day. We've now examined these 6 concerning food pairings thoroughly. Let's synthesize this information and discuss converting your newfound knowledge into sustainable, health-protecting habits. Daily meals deserve more consideration than we typically give them, particularly when we've enjoyed certain combinations for decades. Today represents a turning point. You've absorbed crucial information about familiar food combinations that might unknowingly jeopardize your brain health. The encouraging reality: meaningful change needn't feel extreme or unsustainable. Through ingredient substitutions, reconsidering how you pair different foods, and implementing small, intentional changes, you can actively protect both your brain and your cardiovascular system. Your health remains substantially within your control starting immediately. These individual choices accumulate into significant, life-altering results. Did this video shift how you view your meals? Share this information with people you care about. Comment with a 1 if you're committed to making these changes, or leave a 0 if you're still considering your next steps. Don't overlook subscribing to SeniorForge 365. We consistently deliver information that genuinely enhances lives. Remember, age never prevents you from seizing control of your well-being and crafting the healthier future you absolutely deserve.